Here's Coca-Cola's The Winning Look as we welcome you back to Stillwater. Homecoming this weekend. The town's population about doubles for homecoming weekend. A big deal around here. And as the folks fired up for this early start, and a big one between Oklahoma State and West Virginia. Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, and down on the field today, Jenny Taft.
Hey, Joe, thank you. Well, Dana Holgorsen is usually the kind of coach that lives in the moment, but this week he did something a little different. He went back in time, showing his guys game footage from last year's devastating overtime loss to Oklahoma State. He told us that loss largely due to the turnovers. And safety Jared Harper, he said this game, it's been circled on our calendar for some time now. And speaking of those turnovers, West Virginia only 8 so far this season, 0 in their last 2 games, something they need to carry over today against an Oklahoma State team that thrives off causing turnovers, guys.
Yeah, Jenny, number 1 in the Big 12 in that category. There's their head coach, Mike Gundy, sitting on 99 career wins, and 5 of those 99 wins have come against top 10 opponents. It's in his 12th season. And ready for the 8th meeting between these programs. West Virginia with a narrow edge. The road team has won each of the last 2 in that Sun Bowl back in 1987 in a blizzard. Mike Gundy was the starting quarterback, leading Oklahoma State to a 35-33 win. Unseasonably warm. There's a bit of a breeze down in the field, but the temperature is supposed to climb into the 80s here in late October. Dana Holgorsen coming back here to Lubbock, or back here to Stillwater, where he spent a season as the offensive coordinator in 2010. That was under Mike Gundy. Won an Orange Bowl title that year. Brandon Whedon is the quarterback, threw for a ton of yards.
When we talked to him this week, we asked him if he had any thoughts or any emotions coming back to Stillwater, and he said, no, not really.
Pretty simple.
Pretty much indicative of Dana Holgorsen's personality and how he kind of conducts himself. He just wants this team focusing on 1 week at a time, continuing to try to execute at a high level and focus on the team in front of them.
Oklahoma State won the toss and deferred, so West Virginia will get it to begin. Matt Amendola kicks it away, and off we go from Stillwater. Sheldon Gibson watches it bury into the back of the end zone. And West Virginia to begin to the 25. This is a balanced attack, and it's led by one of the top offensive lines in the Big 12. They've been paving the way lately.
Yeah, it's been running back Russell Shell, who's really put together 2 of his best performances in back-to-back weeks for West Virginia. He's going up against an Oklahoma State defense and a guy who's going to be responsible for trying to find Shell wherever he is. Coming out of the backfield is going to be Devontae Averett, leading tackler of the team. Always seems to be around the football, Joe. He's got 2nd in the country in 3 fumble recoveries this season so far.
And Jenny mentioned it a moment ago, that defense thrives on getting takeaways, almost 3 per game. This game begins with a Skyler Howard drop back and an incomplete pass off of the hands of Javon Durant. So Skyler Howard, that 4-touchdown game last week, his best game. He had only 3 touchdowns in the 3 games before that combined.
And you look at why is he able to play a little bit more efficient this season. We just saw his total yards. It's because he's adding the element of running the football. There's some design quarterback runs, but whenever anything's not there, he seems to do a good job of taking off, picking up a positive game.
On 2nd and 10, first carry for Russell Shell, and it's blown up by Vincent Taylor. The interior of this Oklahoma State defense, no doubt its strength.
Those defensive tackles allow the linebackers for Oklahoma State to fly around. Look at the interior guys in particular. Number 96, Vincent Taylor. He does a good job of getting penetration right away, splits the offensive line for West Virginia, and is able to get the tackle for loss. This is a team that coming into this game, they average about 8 tackles for loss a game. Very good up front.
On 3rd down and 11, they bring only 4. Howard steps away from pressure. On the roll with his eyes downfield and zips one into a tight window for a first down. It's Dakeil Shorts with his team-leading 32nd reception of the season to move the chains.
Shorts is one of the wide receivers for West Virginia who really stepped up last week, made a contested catch there, did that all week.
And in a hurry, Shell with a big hole and explodes for a first down into Oklahoma State territory. Coming off those back-to-back 100-yard games and really making his senior season count.
And you notice West Virginia changed up their tempo on offense. They're going to do that throughout the course of the game. Sometimes they'll slow things down, they'll change personnel and give you different looks, and then other times they'll speed up and try to catch you off guard.
And D coordinators will tell you that's almost more difficult than a team that's 100 miles per hour the whole game. First down and 10 from the 48. Shell trying to get the edge. Make that Kennedy McCoy, his first carry of the day, getting a first down and a gain of 12. True freshman out of Lexington, North Carolina.
When you look at the ability, really, of Kennedy McCoy to get to the outside, and it's in part because Da'Keil Shorts was able to set a good block, allowing that hole to open up on the perimeter.
Back-to-back run. Shell making a cut. Averett making a tackle on a gain of 5. West Virginia 6-0 for the first time since '06. One of the nation's 9 remaining unbeatens. Unbeaten in the Big 12 at 3-0 for the first time since they've joined the conference. On 2nd and 4, a quick game. Howard to the outside. Karan White moving the chains with a gain of 5.
Easy pitch and catch for West Virginia, and that's something that Oklahoma State's going to have to get up into the face of these West Virginia wide receivers and challenge them. Otherwise, Skylar Howard's going to take that all game long. That's been one of the biggest differences, too, from last year to this year is Skylar Howard, he hasn't pressed. He's taken what the defense has given them. He's been wise with the football.
And Justin Crawford comes in the game for the first time at running back. Played only 1 snap in the win against TCU last week. He's a decoy. Howard chased and dropped on a loss of 3. Chad Whitener, redshirt junior from Mansfield, Texas, who's turned into a leader for this defense, comes up with a stop.
The West Virginia offensive line has been pretty solid this season, but this is one of those run-pass options, and what happens is if the quarterback doesn't get rid of the football, there's going to be a free runner.
Howard over the middle, incomplete, off of the hands of Trevon Wesco. Traylon Weber applying the pressure, and it's 3rd down and long on West Virginia's opening drive.
And Joe, this is that area of the field where if you're the Oklahoma State defense, your defensive coordinator, Glenn Spencer, you got to think about possibly bringing some pressure, because even a little bit of a positive gain here allows West Virginia to be more in field goal range.
That's been one of the issues, though, is the longer field goals with Mike Molina since Josh Lambert has left the team. Try to get a chunk and do with Crawford, who's banged down by Trey Flowers, 3 yards short. So 4th down and 3 for the Mountaineers.
This is one of the things, when you gamble and you bring pressure off of the edge, it creates seams in your defensive front. That's exactly what you see here as Crawford was able to find the seam. The West Virginia offensive line wisely is able to get some good push as they work up to the 2nd level. Not enough for the first down, but it does make it a more makeable field goal for Mike Molina.
From 36 yards, as long as 38. And it's right down the middle. He's not had the same kind of distance that Josh Lambert has had, but been pretty darn efficient. West Virginia with the points on its opening drive, and we're back in 30 seconds. Molina with a field goal to cap West Virginia's first drive of the day. Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, Jenny Taft back at Boone Pickens Stadium on a beautiful day in Stillwater. There's Mike Gundy, who spent 26 of the last 31 years here at Oklahoma State in some capacity. And how about the hair? I know it's an old story at this point, but it's still worth mentioning.
Well, the best part was when we were talking to him this week. I asked him about it, and he said, you know, it's actually because one of my kids said, hey, Dad, it's time to cut your hair. You're kind of embarrassing me. And let it blow. And he goes, okay, well, now I'm going to grow it out extra long. And there and behold, he's got the mullet. Business up front, party in the back. That's how Mike Gundy likes to roll.
Same exact haircut he had back when he was quarterback in this team. And that kick sails out of bounds. Oklahoma State's first drive will begin at the 35-yard line. So here comes this offense. Top 15 in the country, scoring more than 40 points per game. A ton of talent at the skill spots, and nobody better than this guy right here.
Yeah, he's a big play wide receiver with a ton of speed. James Washington can really take the top off of a defense, but he's going to be challenged today. Rasul Douglas, cornerback for West Virginia. He's leading the team in interceptions. He's not scared to stick his nose in there, but really this entire West Virginia secondary does a good job of keeping eyes on opposing quarterbacks, reading the different pass concepts, and being able to break on the football. And
that 3-3-5 of Tony Gibson, we talked about it off of the top, but despite having 8 first-year starters, they've been one of the nation's best units. From the 35-yard line, Rudolph's first throw goes to Jalen McCluskey, who had a career game against Kansas last week, as Kansas tried to take away James Washington, and Mason Rudolph did a nice job of adjusting and taking what they gave him.
You look at the 20 passes over 30-plus yards, but he's been more efficient, too. He's actually had a little bit higher completion percentage, even though they're pushing the ball vertically down the field.
Top 10 in the country for Rudolph, the 320-some yards per game. And on 2nd and 6, sees a window to run. He's not the most gifted runner, although a little bit more agile than when he arrived. He gets 3 and makes it 3rd and 3.
And that's something that he's going to have to do throughout the course of this game. The West Virginia defense is going to bring different rushes. Sometimes they're going to bring the house. Sometimes they're going to drop 8 into coverage. So there will be at times some running lanes. And Mason Rudolph is going to have to do something that maybe he feels a little bit uncomfortable with. But that's getting out outside the pocket and picking up what he can.
Chris Carson comes in at running back. Had 3 touchdowns last week. And his first game in about a month. He swings out of the backfield and it opens up James Washington. Tracked down from behind by Elijah Battle. 1 catch for just 9 yards last week. He goes for 33 on this one.
And this is what Mason Rudolph's going to have to deal with all day. He had a free defender coming right into his face. He's going to have to stand in there under pressure and deliver an accurate catch-and-run football. And a good job by James Washington getting open off the line for his quarterback.
That total last week of just 9 yards was his lowest since his first 2 games as a Cowboy 2 years ago. This is the true freshman, Justice Hill. He had a career day as well last week. 162 yards in the win against Kansas. They are really excited about this kid.
On pace for 1,000 yards this season. They talked about his elusiveness. He's not the biggest guy, but he's incredibly hard to be able to bring down in short spaces. Just seems to always be able to fall forward, get those additional yards. For a true freshman, very, very savvy on the football field.
And a Booker T. Washington in Tulsa. On 2nd and 5, it's Hill again with a cutback, but a flag down and a gain of 4. Brad Van Vark, head referee today.
Offside, defense number 11. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
And so that moves the chains for Oklahoma State. There's Tony Gibson, the defensive coordinator for West Virginia.
He's one of the defensive coordinators who's not afraid to take risks, not afraid to bring pressure. He said, sometimes I get out there, I'm kind of watching, I'm kind of bored. I want something to happen, so I'm going to bring a bunch of pressure, and either we're going to get a sack or a negative play, or they're going to get a touchdown one way or another. You can tell his players love playing for him because he puts them in positions where they can come up with impact plays.
Held TCU 30 points below its average last week. Held Texas Tech 39 below its average the week before. And up front, they're strong. Noble Wachuku, the most experienced player on this defense, has the tackle.
And Wachuku is the guy up front for West Virginia who really sets the tone, does a good job of getting penetration in the run game. And sometimes they only bring a 3-man rush, but he does a good job of still finding a way to get pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Demands double teams, and they'll rotate their guys up front, but Wachuku is really a guy to look out for through the rest of this game.
He and Brown, and then one safety, Jared Harper, the only guys on this defense that came into the year with starting experience. Hill again, penetration again, and Wachuku again, making it 3rd and long.
Case in point, what makes him so special is how quick he is off the ball, and then how he uses his hands. Notice how he rips and gets by the offensive lineman for Oklahoma State to get into the backfield. And this is where Tony Gibson traditionally would like to bring some pressure. He's not scared to heat it up. Talked about that game last year. Mason Rudolph didn't deal with the pressure overly well. 3 interceptions, even though Oklahoma State got the win.
They empty it out on 3rd down and 12, and they only rush 3. So tight windows for Rudolph to peer through, and he sails it over Washington's head. So it's 4th down, and the field goal team comes out for the Cowboys.
Well, sometimes they're going to look like they're rushing 3, but they're going to add on other defenders. And you can kind of see that. That's what they call a little coffee house. Don't necessarily come right away, but as soon as they see a seam, a lot of times the linebackers will then be able to blitz through late, try to put pressure on Mason Rudolph or whatever the quarterback. This West Virginia defense is very well coached.
Ben Grogan became Oklahoma State's all-time leading scorer last week, passing Dan Bailey. From 33 yards, it's hooking through. 8th consecutive make for Grogan, and field goals on each team's opening drive. Fox College Football is presented by Verizon. Join a better network because better matters. And sponsored by Dr. Pepper. It's a college football tradition. Gorgeous day back here in Stillwater.
You get a chance to go to Eskimo Joe's yet?
No.
I heard those chili cheese fries are a must-have.
Have you been? Or
No,
this is still
Barry Allen,
our stats guy?
Yeah, he's telling me that he's giving me a look like he's already had them.
He's typically the food authority for us. Field goals for both teams. Gary Jennings back to return this kick from Amendola. It's really been good for Oklahoma State. Took over the kickoff duties from Ben Grogan this year. It has helped Oklahoma State have the best opponent starting field position in the country. So that is the worst for their opponents. And it's sailing over the head of Jennings out of the back of the end zone. West Virginia to begin to the 25-yard line with their senior quarterback out of Fort Worth, Texas, Skyler Howard on the other side of this break. Fox College Football is presented by Verizon. We've talked to you about James Washington, the star receiver for Oklahoma State, but a different story on the other side. West Virginia has 4 receivers they spread it around to.
Yeah, all really capable, too, of hitting home for a big play, and Skyler Howard has a ton of confidence in those guys, but they've got confidence in themselves, Joe. We talked to Shelton Gibson before today's game, and what did he say?
So you asked him, you going to make a play today, Shelton? And Shelton immediately says to you, I'm going to make too many plays, man. Didn't target Gibson on that first drive. He's lined up to the bottom of your screen to begin West Virginia's second drive of the day. Justin Crawford swings out. And that one's knocked down at the line of scrimmage by Vincent Taylor. And the interior of this Oklahoma State defensive line making a habit of making headaches for opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah, whether it's Taylor or Miley, even Osborne, he had an interception last week. I mean, all these guys and then the interior of the defensive line for Oklahoma State do a good job of getting pushed, but when they can't hit home, Joe, they just put their hands up and they bat down footballs. Or into Quentin Osborne's case, he got an interception last week, the big boy with the soft hands.
Took it back to the 1. A couple of the linemen got involved on another interception where they're pitching the thing all over the place. Howard underneath to kill Shorts his second reception, and in a gain of 11, a first down.
Nikhil Shorts has been a guy that's been extremely reliable for this West Virginia offense in the passing game. He kind of plays that wide receiver position. So he's going to be on the interior in the slot. He's going to be responsible for a lot of the adjustments anytime a team brings pressure, but also in sitting in some of those soft spots in the zone coverage, something that Oklahoma State's going to do throughout the course of today.
It's Crawford. Whitener the stop. Justin Crawford, the National JUCO Player of the Year a season ago down in Mississippi. And for a couple of weeks this year was leading the team in rushing, but then injured his ankle against Texas Tech 2 weeks ago. Last week limited to just 1 play. They're hopeful he can give him a chunk of carries today. wants one-on-one. Down the sideline. Back shoulder and broken up, but a flag down. Lindsey Pipkins defending Karan White. And we'll see where the flag is.
Well, it's going to be pass interference. You can see White's working one-on-one versus Pipkins, and he never turns back to try to locate the football. Unfortunately, it's just too much contact downfield without making.
Offense number 2. That will be 15 yards. Replay, second down.
I mean, that's just hard for me to see considering looking at what White was doing. Let's take another look. It seems like Pipkins was the one really trying to push off, and in this case, I don't see anything.
No.
And there really wasn't much separation between the two players, and you would have thought there would have been, given if that's going to be the penalty.
Dana Holgerson expressing his displeasure. Second down, 24. Back at the 22. Crawford hits the hole hard, and a flag flies in from the referee after a pickup of 4. Oh, the early indication is a face mask on the offense.
Personal foul, face mask, offense number 62. That penalty will be declined, brings up third down.
It's the right guard. Redshirt junior, number 62. You can see right there. Clearly, that's going to be a face mask. You don't see that very often. Usually it's hands to the face. You don't see many times the offensive lineman actually grab the face mask of a defender.
So as you heard, the penalties declined to make it third down and 20. They run it with Crawford. He gets 11, but needed a lot more, and Oklahoma State has forced the punt.
West Virginia offense, you look at the course of the season, they're not good enough to have all these penalties and keep putting themselves into a hole. They just can't operate effectively that way. And I think you go back through the course of the season, they're undefeated, but the times when drives have stalled, it's been because of those penalties or mistakes that they've made.
Billy Kinney, number 2 in the Big 12 in his punting average. Good hang time on it. Barry J. Sanders back to receive it. Makes one-man miss. And gets to the 20. Yes, it is Barry's son. Fox College Football is presented by Verizon. We go down to Jenny Taft.
Well, Joe, as we all remember at last year's Oklahoma State homecoming parade, a deadly crash shocked the Stillwater community. And 1 year later, the program is honoring the first responders that helped the injured during the crash and remembering the 4 victims with 4 riderless horses at this morning's parade. The players are also wearing these kneeling cowboy helmet stickers that they plan to wear at every homecoming moving forward. Joe?
All right, Jenny. And so a bit of a somber tone on the normally really exciting homecoming festivities here as Washington gets his second reception. At a gain of 12. Oklahoma State did win that game last year following the tragedy, but a day unlike any other for the people in this community to go through. And still remembering those folks lost 1 year later. Here's Justice Hill. Now Rasheed Benton drags him down and a gain of 7.
Oklahoma State clearly wants to get the running game going right now with Justice Hill. He's already got 4 carries, been effective so far. It's going to help set up some of the play-action pass game for Oklahoma State.
Hill again. Gets outside, foot of the ground, first down to midfield. Justice Hill getting the lead block from Zach Veach.
We talked about Mason Rudolph and just his progress since that game versus West Virginia last year. He's been phenomenal. I mean, he's been taking care of the football, adding more production. Just has a better feel, I believe, for this offense under Mike Gundy.
Say he's been much more willing to get through his entire progression and check the ball down than he was when he threw those career-high 3 interceptions last year in West Virginia. Here's Chris Carson on a gain of 2 or 3, but he keeps plowing forward and makes it 4 or 5.
Chris Carson back, battling a hand injury. The leading rusher a year ago. You know, they kind of struggled to run the football last year, but now with Justice Hill and Chris Carson, we'll see Childs and Barry J. Sanders, all those guys, they'll kind of mix in throughout the course of the game. They had that element of a running game.
2nd down 5. McCleskey, the motion man. Washington's got it on a double reverse with a block from Jarwin. He's got a 1st down inside the 35.
You go back to last week, Kansas limited Washington to only 1 reception. So we talked to the staff of Oklahoma State. They said, we're going to have to find ways of getting him the football in more unique ways and moving him around.
McCleskey's open, and Jalen McCleskey's got a 1st down to the 16 and a gain of 19.
And then Jalen McCleskey was the guy that really stepped up last week when Washington couldn't. He's the other complement to this offense that really helps make it go.
Foot on the gas pedal right now. Rudolph drops. Here's Jawan Seals. Everybody getting involved, and it's 2nd and 3. Crawford and Art combining the tackle. Oklahoma State has it moving.
Jawan Seals is the other element. You look at this passing game, it's essentially built on 3 guys. It's going to be Washington, Seals, and McCleskey. And they do a good job of really working into all 3 wide receivers. 11 different guys touched the football last week for Oklahoma State. That, again, that's part of it really being Mason Rudolph and him doing a good job, like you mentioned, of going through his progressions and seeing the field.
Zach Veach leading the way for Justice Hill. Spinning close to a 1st down. Darian Howard from his nose guard spot over to make the tackle. It's 3rd and short for the Cowboys.
Again, West Virginia, they like to put a lot of bodies up around the line of scrimmage. Defensive coordinator Tony Gibson likes to bring pressure, and when he brings it, he brings everyone. And that just leaves man-to-man coverage on the outside. But the way Oklahoma State's running the football, they got to be careful. So far, Justice Hill and the rest of the running backs for Oklahoma State have been effective at finding seams in the defense when they have brought pressure.
On 3rd down and 2, looking one-on-one, and a miscommunication between Lacey, who broke off his route, and Rudolph, who threw it to the corner.
And it's kind of interesting, too. You watch Lacey, he kind of breaks into a quick out, and clearly Mason Rudolph is thinking it's going to be a fade. From my time playing, you know, I never liked throwing those out-breaking routes down around the goal line because the defender is almost flat-footed. A lot of times if they break and get an interception, it's usually going to be a pick 6. I was never fast enough to chase him down.
So why risk it?
Yeah.
2 drives, 2 field goal attempts for Ben Grogan, who has now made 9 in a row. Oklahoma State jumps in front for the 1st time. Mike Gundy's team trying to beat another top 10 team. Fox College Football presented by Verizon is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy. Just getting started on the Fox networks today. Full slate of college football on FS1. How about the game? Salt Lake City, 4th-ranked Washington, and 17th-ranked Utah. It's the game of the year to this point in the Pac-12. Kansas and OU, Stanford and Arizona later in the day. A game between Washington and Utah, top team in the north against the top team in the south at this point. Gary Jennings back already for the 3rd time. Amendola sends it away. And he is 3 for 3 on touchbacks. Time for a game break. We say hello to Mike Hill.
Joe, what's up, man? How about my man Jabril Peppers for the Heisman? He's played 11 different positions for Michigan, and guess what? He's good at all 11. Here on the quarterback keeper, his 4th touchdown of the season. 2nd-ranked Michigan, and Michigan State tied at 7 in the 2nd. Joe, Brady, back to you.
What do you think about his Heisman campaign?
He's definitely going to have an opportunity if Michigan continues to roll and remains undefeated in the Big Ten. But they still have that test in Columbus, Ohio, end of the season versus the Buckeyes. But Peppers, no doubt, he's a legitimate Heisman contender.
This West Virginia drive begins with a Skylar Howard run, and he has a block in front from Grant Lingefelter to get a gain of 4.
Howard, just a tough runner. Not the biggest guy, 6 foot, maybe 210 pounds, but saw him run through an arm tackle of Darrell Owens, defensive end, to be able to pick up the positive gain.
On second down, Howard gets rid of it just in time, and a first down to Nikhil Shorts. Already his 3rd reception of the day. This one goes for 11.
Oklahoma State is at times going to play a little bit of a zone coverage, more of a bend but don't break defense. And they're going to force Skylar Howard to make some of those intermediate throws that he hasn't been great with in the past. And that was actually one of the focuses this offseason, was helping Skylar Howard improve on some of those intermediate routes between 5 and 15 yards to 20 yards downfield.
His completion percentage up by about 12% from last year. Wanted to throw a screen, gets it to Shell, whose momentum carries him out of bounds on a short gain.
And that was really all because of Devontae Averett, the linebacker. He sniffed it out right away. The offensive line for West Virginia tried to bottle him up, but Howard just didn't feel comfortable taking a chance and trying to throw in there. And that's the hardest thing about a screen to a running back, is you got to find a window to him. If you can't, as a quarterback, a lot of times it just ends up ruining the play.
First quarter flew by. Second down, 7. They don't have to run a play, but it looks like they will. Wanted to go short side, taken away, so he heaves one, and it's incomplete. Ramon Richards had a gift-wrapped interception and couldn't hang on to it.
Skylar Howard a little bit spooked by the pressure. Tried to take a shot downfield, ended up missing, but a missed opportunity for the Oklahoma State defense.
Fox College football is presented by Verizon. We get ready to start the second quarter, but first, let's go back to that last play. What was Skylar Howard seeing?
Oh, Oklahoma State brought a corner cat. It's called a corner blitz. They're going to bring Lindsey Pipkins from the boundary side of the field. Skylar Howard wanted Sheldon Gibson. He did a good job of adjusting his route. For whatever reason, didn't want to throw it, kind of got spooked, and then really threw up somewhat of a bad decision. And Ramon Richards wasn't able to come down with the pick, but very unlike Skylar Howard as far as how he's played so far this year.
And so the second quarter begins with the 3rd and 7. And they run it. Shell sticks his shoulder down to get a first down. On 3rd and 7, they keep it on the ground and get 8.
We got this fullback, number 28, Elijah Wellman. He does a good job of leading Marshall Shell. That's just all his power and his ability to really push through some of those arm tackles in the secondary.
First down and 10. Here comes Shell again. Room off the right side and cut down by Ramon Richards and a gain of 5. Richards had an opportunity to end this drive at the end of the half, but at the end of the quarter, with that interception bouncing off his hands. That's something Oklahoma State's been really good at, getting takeaways, teeing up the offense. Number 1 in the Big 12, almost 3 turnovers per game for the defense.
And their offense has been great at converting that into points. 17 points last week versus Kansas off turnovers.
Both these teams really nice complementary football over the first half of this season. Howard stands in, drills one, and Gibson has his first catch of the day. Spinning his way to the 30 on a pickup of 14. Sheldon Gibson.
Cleveland Heights High School out of Cleveland, Ohio. He's got to be excited about what's going on up there in Cleveland, but it was one of those plays he was talking to us about before the game.
Howard has all day underneath White settles. Stiff arms Burton. run out of bounds after 6 by Chad Whitener, who already has 6 tackles for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Whitener's been all over the field, but go back to the last catch. Karan White with a stiff arm on Jordan Burton, who's a linebacker. It shows you the type of capabilities these wide receivers have for West Virginia. White's got at least 4 passes in the last 5 games. Seems to find a way of getting himself open. He's got good size, good ability. If that name sounds familiar, there's a reason why.
Yeah, Kevin White, his big brother. Here comes Javon Durant cutting it upfield for a first down. He's one of 3 White brothers to come through this West Virginia program. His younger brother, Kaiser, in his first year on the defense. All 3 guys JUCO transfers. All 3 guys key pieces to West Virginia the last few years. He was actually marked short, so 3rd and 1. Howard pulls it out of the gut, gets it outside. Durant now has a first down.
And if you notice, West Virginia again picking up their tempo, spreading the football around, getting the ball to the perimeter where all their wide receivers can make plays in space. Not only are they agile, but they're also strong enough to be able to break through arm tackles and get upfield and keep the sticks moving.
West Virginia putting together what is becoming the norm for them, these long clock draining drives. From the 19-yard line, straight downhill it's Shell. Hit at the line of scrimmage on a gain of 1. Last week against TCU, in the 3rd quarter, West Virginia held the ball for 13 minutes and 45 seconds to take control of that game.
And that just doesn't sound like, Dana Holgorsen, a guy who came out mummy in that air raid offense that everyone talks about, it's up-tempo and all this stuff. That's not what he's been doing this year. A much heavier run balance compared to pass, and he's been maintaining time of possession with the football.
A 56% run this year. Here comes a corner blitz. Howard pumps on a double move. He's got Gibson, who lays out for the touchdown. This time he threw into the corner blitz, and it worked for the game's first touchdown.
Well, you said it, Joe. They bring a corner blitz. That puts Kenneth Edison Magruder, and he bites on the double move. A little sluggo, which is a slant and go. And Gibson able to extend to catch the football while still getting a foot in bounds to get the touchdown.
4th of the season. That drive goes 5 minutes, lasting 12 plays for West Virginia, and it looks like it will hold up.
You go back to that dropped interception by Ramon Richards. And this Oklahoma State team can't afford to make those sorts of mistakes. It was too easy of a play for Richards, and it could have stopped this drive.
Molina hits the extra point. In Cleveland, Ohio, Shelton Gibson with his first touchdown of the day as Oklahoma State and West Virginia play the game of the day in the Big 12. Shelton Gibson, told you earlier today he's going to make too many plays. Made a couple of them on that drive. Second one, a touchdown, capping a 12-play, nearly 5-minute drive.
Really good job by Skylar Howard. Got into a rhythm, spread the football around, was accurate with the football.
Lacey back into the end zone. Oklahoma State will start at the 25. Hello, Mike Hill with the game break.
Hey, Virginia giving 5th-ranked Louisville a little work early on. Ben Kurt, love the name, to Donnie Dowling, 9 yards on the score. Lamar Jackson does have his 35th touchdown of the season in this game, but right now his team down by 3, start of the 2nd.
Fighting Broncos, huh?
I don't know. I think if that game's close, Lamar Jackson will find a way of taking it over. You hear Mike, 36 total touchdowns accounted for this year. Just ridiculous.
Mason Rudolph back out there at quarterback. He's thrown for 14 scores this year. Run for another. And he begins his drive with a Justice Hill run. And it is promptly shut down in a gain of just one. Justin Arndt, a fifth-year senior at linebacker for the Mountaineers. He's their leading tackler here in his first season seeing any kind of action on the defensive side.
And look, he's a West Virginia guy, blue-collar kid. They said he's not the biggest. If you saw him walking around out there for warm-ups, you might think he's just maybe a special teams guy or something like that. But he's got a good nose for the football, instinctual player.
Been loaded at linebacker the last few years. He's finally getting his opportunity, making it count. On play action, wide open is Chris Lacey. That ball comes out, and they say incomplete. There's your guy, Rasul Douglas, drawing it out, 3rd and 9.
Well, the thing I like about Rasul Douglas is really his length. You're watching him. He's able to close in on the football and get his helmet on the football to disrupt the completion. I talked to the coaching staff about this young man. They said he has all the ability in the world. He's exactly what all the NFL scouts are looking for as far as his size and ability. And you mentioned earlier, leads the team with 3 interceptions this year.
See if Tony Gibson brings pressure on 3rd down and 9. Not much. So Rudolph has time. And Carson out of the backfield. Submarine by White, making it 4th down.
There's an example of Mason Rudolph being wise, going through his progression, and end up finding the running back. Positive game, but not enough for the 1st down. And that's in part because of the coverage that Tony Gibson and the defense for West Virginia is giving the Oklahoma State offense. They're rolling a cloud zone coverage to James Washington's side, meaning they basically have got 2 guys on him.
Which is what Kansas did successfully last week, taking him out of the game with only his 1 catch. A line drive punt. It sends Jennings back inside his own 20. And there's that coverage team from Oklahoma State. One of the best in the country this year. And West Virginia will begin the next drive at its own 16. Fox College Football, presented by Verizon, is sponsored by Allstate. Proud supporters of college football. It's good to be in good hands. Back in Stillwater, Joe Davis with Brady Quinn and Jenny Taft. Game of the day in the Big 12 between unbeaten West Virginia and Oklahoma State. How about the way Dana Holgorsen has evolved as a play caller over the last few years?
Well, I think he's adapted a little bit to his personnel. I mean, Skylar Howard's been the quarterback. He's more able to run the football, but it's also been the running backs as well. Wendell Smallwood, drafted to the Philadelphia Eagles from a year ago, and you look at Russell Shell, and he does a good job as well. 2 guys that they could really rely on the past couple years that I don't know they necessarily had in the past.
Close to perfect balance so far today. Worst starting field position of the day for the Mountaineers. And Justin Crawford off the left side for 4. Chad Whitener with another stop, 2nd and 6. Howard on a quarterback draw. Like there was a sliver of room for him, but it closed thanks to Cole Walterscheid, 3rd and short.
And that's one of those plays that kind of factors into their balance of running the football more than a pass. You know, they trust Skylar Howard to run the football, and they'll dial up some quarterback draws like the last play and some unique formations. But that's what Dan Holgorsen wants to do. He wants to control the game, control the tempo of the game by running the football and giving an opportunity for his defense to get some rest.
And he's been run heavy on 3rd down. 3rd and 4. This time I look to throw. Howard retreating. Under pressure. Lost the football. Oklahoma State's got it. Vincent Taylor ripped it away, and Walterscheid recovered it. Oklahoma State's at it again.
Well, credit to Oklahoma State's secondary. They did a good job providing coverage downfield to allow Vincent Taylor enough time to get his hands on Skylar Howard and the football. Then there's Walterscheid to pick it up. And again, this is something that the Oklahoma State defense has lived off of. Creating turnovers, and then it falls on their offense now to get points. And they've been one of the best teams in the country at doing that this season.
Some of the raw numbers that you look at for Oklahoma State, and they are reviewing this to see if there's any chance Howard's arm was coming for, but some of the raw numbers aren't favorable for Oklahoma State. But Glenn Spencer, their defensive coordinator, talked to us about the way they try to define success. It's not necessarily yards. It's not even points. It's points per possession that they look at.
Yeah, well, which has been something that's changed really over the course of college football for the past 15 years or so. It's not necessarily how many rushing yards, those sorts of things. It's points per play, points per drive.
And, of course, takeaways, where they're #1 in the conference, close to 3 per game. Here's Carson. Muscling his way down to the 2. Hart and Benton with a tackle, and it's 2nd and goal.
And look at the linemen for Oklahoma State that are down into the second level, getting that good push. Marcus Keys, Zachary Crabtree, both those guys taking care of the front line of defense and then worked up to the second level. That's what's helped their running game so far today for Oklahoma State, is the big boys up front getting some good push.
Cowboys were able to convert 4 turnovers into 17 points in the overtime win at West Virginia last year. Trying to pay one off here. They'll look to throw. In the end zone, Lacey, strong hands. It's a touchdown.
Well, this is what happens when you load up the box. One-on-one coverage. Lacey is just going to beat Rasul Douglas out of the break. And he's got strong enough hands to secure the catch and not allow Douglas to break it up. Once again, the effectiveness of this Oklahoma State team playing complementary football. That means putting together those turnovers and the offense being able to capitalize.
Lacey's first touchdown. And Oklahoma State has taken a 2-point lead. The replay booth taking a second to make sure that it's okay, that he did indeed hang on. Several members of the coaching staff on the Oklahoma State sideline keeping their hands in the air, signaling touchdown. And they got the go-ahead. Brogan adds the extra point. Chris Lacey's touchdown. The junior from DeSoto, Texas, has the Cowboys back in front. Oklahoma State in front by 3. We started to talk about it a moment ago, but Glenn Spencer talking to us about points per possession allowed, and it's kind of a new age statistic folks are looking at. He's up there in the booth. But by some measures, Oklahoma State's defense isn't very good. This is one that they look at. Points allowed per drive. They're better than Big 12 average. They're 3rd in the conference, and it kind of goes back to them stopping drives with all their takeaways.
I mean, teams are going to put up yards nowadays in college football. That's just the way it is. It's just a matter of playing good red zone defense and trying to limit their points once they get down to that shortened part of the field.
Let's now check in with Rob Stone in Los Angeles.
Coming up on the State Farm halftime, a live report ahead of that massive FS1 showdown between unbeaten Washington and Utah. Sparty trying to hand Michigan their first loss, and a Lamar Jackson Heisman update. Joe Brady, back to you guys.
All right, Rob, and just to put a bow on that points per possession conversation, they always want to be below 2. They feel like they have a shot if they're there. They're averaging about 1.8 on the season. Skyler Howard and the West Virginia offense back out there, down 13-10 midway through the second. Shell, hard running for 6.
Yeah, if you recall West Virginia's drive, they haven't had much success because there's a late flag on the field. Russell Shell is going off with a little bit of a limp as well.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 13 of the defense. That'll be a 15-yard penalty added on to the end of the run. Automatic first down. That's number 13's first unsportsmanlike foul of the game.
That's the most experienced player on this defense in Jordan Stearns.
One of the leaders, you talked to Glenn Spencer, what he talks about, he's one of the guys they rely on in the back end to help get this team lined up and set the tone back there. So a bit surprising. He's an aggressive player, but haven't seen anything like that. But go back to the original discussion. Russell Shell being banged up, that really limits this backfield for West Virginia, considering Crawford was dealing with an ankle as well before today's game.
Howard well protected. Has room to find White, who's got a first down. Ron White to the 39 and a gain of 15. West Virginia quickly back on the ball. Kennedy McCoy off the left side, gets tripped up. That's a big tackle by Trey Flowers. There was room ahead of him.
Really, that's where the West Virginia offense has had its most production. It's been those plays on the perimeter. The defensive tackles for Oklahoma State have done a good job of bottling things up on the inside. And really, West Virginia is going to have to beat them throwing the football and getting plays outside the tackles.
On 2nd and 8. Howard scanning the field. Down the sideline. One-on-one. Shelton Gibson. Out of bounds. Incomplete. Jordan Stearns covering him. Not a ton of room down that sideline.
Well, you see the official there without his hat on. I believe it's because Gibson was out of bounds. This is where you see the official there toss his hat to the ground. Now, you can usually make the case if he was forced out by the defender, he can come back in bounds and be the first person to touch the football. It doesn't look like the official felt like Stearns pushed him out. Now a big third down for West Virginia.
Over the middle. It's Shorts for a first down. What a strike from Skyler Howard.
Skyler Howard so far has really found something. The inside wide receiver, Dakeil Shorts. He's finding all those holes right now in the Oklahoma State secondary.
Fourth catch for Shorts. All 4 of them have converted first downs for West Virginia. 10th-ranked Mountaineers on the move with a first down at the 24. Pressure's picked up. And that one zings off of the hands of Kennedy McCoy. Howard throwing a fastball from point blank. 2nd and 10.
Kennedy McCoy, the true freshman out of Lexington, North Carolina. They're really excited about that young man, just his versatility and what he can do. They really feel like he could even play a slot wide receiver. We talked to the wide receivers coach, Tyron Carrier. He said if we were banged up at wide receiver, we could easily put McCoy out there, and he'd do a great job for us.
The issue is they're not banged up at running back.
Yeah.
2nd and 10. Howard keeps. Averett runs him down with help from Lampkin, making it 3rd and 10.
It's no surprise you see Devontae Averett running to the football, making plays on the outside. He's just got one of those tremendous stories of a young man who really worked his way to get onto the field for Oklahoma State, just to get a scholarship here at Oklahoma State. About working double shifts at UPS, help support his son in high school. Tremendous story of a young man who's worked through a lot of adversity.
3rd and 10. Crawford. We've seen several times today on 3rd and long, West Virginia go to the run. Whitener and Burton making the tackle. 4th and 7, and the field goal team will come out.
And there's really just nothing there, too, in the middle of the defense. Credit the defensive tackles for Oklahoma State. We talked about Taylor, Miley. I mean, those guys are clogging some things up. They're being disruptive, and they're allowing Whitener and Burton and Averett really to get after it. Now you've got a team that is really good at blocking field goals, if you're talking about Oklahoma State.
Lead the country in that category. And there is a flag down. Could this be a substitution infraction?
Prior to the foul for illegal substitution, Oklahoma State calls its first time out of the half.
That is about as good of a use of a timeout as you can have to avoid what would have made it first down, West Virginia. Field goal attempt coming here from Mike Molina. We mentioned going to break. Oklahoma State as good as any team in the country at blocking them. That's big Vincent Taylor you saw in the middle. He's blocked 3 this year. From 39. Molina still has not made from that distance this year. Oklahoma State stays in front. Mason Rudolph in the offense back to the field. Trying to beat a top 10 opponent for the 5th time of the last 6 years. Fox College Football presented by Verizon is sponsored by Honda. Great deals are waiting for you now at your local Honda dealer. And by KFC. Go Buckets. It's finger licking good.
Let's go back and take a look at that last missed field goal for West Virginia. You know, when you've got a team that's so good rushing on the interior, then it really creates a short edge. Look at Lampkin come off the edge, and you got to wonder if maybe Molina felt him and felt the pressure because of all the focus on the interior defensive line for Oklahoma State.
And so the Cowboys take over at the 22, and Rudolph off play action goes into the flats for Zach Veach, who plays that cowboy back position for Oklahoma State, a hybrid fullback tight end role.
Yeah, Veach and number 47 Blake Jarwin, those two guys both are in a very important role because they're going to catch the ball out of the backfield like that, but a lot of times they're the lead blocker, and they're the guy who's responsible for that inverted safety for West Virginia's defense to help create holes and seams on the outside.
On 2nd and 2. Rudolph into the short side, misses Lacey, 3rd and 2. And a flag comes down right in the middle of the field, way after the play.
There is no foul for an eligible receiver downfield. 3rd down.
So 3rd down and about 2.
And that's one of those things with these run pass options we talk about. What that means is it's a run play called with passing routes in and behind, and those offensive linemen, they can't break that 3-yard threshold downfield before the ball is released. Well, 3rd and short. See if West Virginia brings pressure.
Well, they're outnumbered in the box, but Oklahoma State still throws and beats it with a slant to Joanne Seals. Get it inside of Antonio Crawford. Crawford, who's been dealing with a shoulder injury, is injured on this play.
We talked about West Virginia bringing pressure off the edge. What that means is one-on-one coverage on the outside, and right now the Oklahoma State wide receivers are beating the cornerbacks for West Virginia off the ball in that press man-to-man coverage. They're doing a good job of getting that all-important release on those quick timing routes so that they can get open for Mason Rudolph, and he's doing a good job finding them.
Rudolph 9 of 13 so far with a touchdown and no picks. Crawford to his feet. Corner's been the one spot West Virginia's really dealt with injuries all season long. There have been a lot of guys that have cycled through that one spot opposite Douglas.
And Tony Gibson talked about Antonio Crawford being one of the guys that you look at him, he's probably the best athlete really on their team. Kind of makes you take a second look when you watch him in the weight room and moving around, and 40-yard dash, all those sorts of things where they test these young men.
A slow start for Justice Hill, only 20 yards on 7 carries. Here comes another trick play, an added element to it this time. West Virginia's so disciplined to take it away, but Washington still finds a way to pay it off with a gain of 15. A double reverse pitchback pass.
You know, there's so much going on. I think that the Oklahoma State offense never really got to fool the West Virginia defense. Just a good play by James Washington.
Rudolph zinging one for Washington, who lost it. Rarely do you see Washington drop one. 2nd and 10.
There's so much misdirection. The West Virginia defense is caught up in trying to react. And Mason Rudolph doesn't find anyone downfield, and he basically just throws to the back shoulder of James Washington, who makes a ridiculous grab for the first down.
3 catches for 62 yards now for Washington.
And what a story he is, by the way. How he got to Oklahoma State. Just a tremendous athlete when you look at all the different sports he played in high school.
Tiny Stamford, Texas. Hill has room up the middle for a gain of 7. So 3rd down and 3 for Oklahoma State.
This Oklahoma State offense has been very balanced, not able to really give away any sort of...
McCleskey close to the marker. Douglas pushes him out, and they do give him enough.
Just to follow up on that conversation, Oklahoma State offense hasn't been able to give up any sort of tendency to the West Virginia defense, and they're playing so fast right now, it's starting to wear down the Mountaineers.
Fake to Hill. Seals settles underneath and popped out of bounds by Harper. They say that he held on. That's a gain of 6. Seals has had a good game so far. Couple of catches. 3 for 20 yards total. Mason Rudolph has spread it around to 6 different receivers. Here's Hill. Stiff arms. And run down by Jeremy Tyler. 3rd and 4.
These safeties for West Virginia are so aggressive. And just the defense in general. There's so many guys down around the line of scrimmage, kind of loading up the box to stop the run. Clearly, Tony Gibson wants to make Oklahoma State one-dimensional and try to put the pressure on Mason Rudolph like they did last year. You know, it was a losing effort. They really felt like they got the better of Mason Rudolph.
They're bringing it. Rudolph trying to beat it, and does to Washington. Against Elijah Battle. 1st down, Oklahoma State.
And again, it's just one-on-one man-to-man coverage. West Virginia's bringing everyone. There's no safety help, and it's just James Washington beating whatever cornerback that's lined up across from him in one-on-one man-to-man coverage on those slant routes. And Mason Rudolph has been pinpoint with his accuracy, not allowing the defender to even have an opportunity to touch the football.
The third down conversion of this drive. The 23-yard line. Justice Hill gets outside. Elijah Battle cuts him down after 6 or 7.
27, Justice Hill around the right side.
You know, when we talked to Mike Gundy before this week, he said, you know, last year, our game plan versus West Virginia, we tried to do things that were good against the 3-3-5 that were maybe out of our normal offense. We tried to install some things, put some things in, and we just didn't feel like we played well offensively. And this year, they just kind of stuck with what they do and maybe some things that they could do to try to exploit the 3-3-5, but not change it up as much as they did last year.
They said the tendency for some teams, and then included, like you said, is to try and reinvent the wheel just because of the defense they're facing in that case. Hill never got going, stopped short, but flags come flying. And judging by the reaction of the Oklahoma State crowd, there was something late from West Virginia. Student section had a good look at it down in that corner.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 24 of the defense. That penalty is half the distance to the goal. Automatic 1st down.
Maurice Fleming.
The 5th-year senior out of Chicago, Illinois, and that's just something that you can't have from one of your upperclassmen. Look at him come in here at the top of your screen at the very end. Can't really tell much from that angle, but clearly he did something enough that warranted the penalty.
I'll take your word for it.
Well,
1st down and goal for Oklahoma State. Here comes Hill to the 4. Popped by Taylor.
Remember last time we were down around this part of the field, Mason Rudolph hooked up with Chris Lacey and took advantage of that one-on-one coverage on the outside. We're probably going to see that again. West Virginia is loading up around the line of scrimmage, trying to stop the run, forcing Mason Rudolph to make those plays.
No James Washington in there on 2nd down and goal. Inside of a minute left in this first half. And now timeout. Mike Gundy went all the way down to the 10-yard line to get the attention of the official to use his 2nd timeout of the half. Oklahoma State trying to take a 2-score lead for the first time in this game. Coming up, we've got the State Farm College Football Halftime Show. Rob Stone, Dave Wannstedt, Robert Smith in Los Angeles. We'll preview that big Pac-12 matchup later today on FS1.
Well, don't forget, too, Oklahoma State's trying to double dip here with 57 seconds left. They're going to look to try to score, maybe even run the football here, take a little bit more time off the clock, and then they're going to get the ball out of half because they won the coin toss but deferred. So it's usually the strategy when you got the football on a 2-minute drive at the end of the half is not allow West Virginia even an opportunity to get the football back with any time to have a drive.
Oklahoma State scored on all 8 of its red zone trips last week against Kansas. 3 for 3 today. Still no James Washington. Seals, McCleskey, and Hayes across the board. Here comes Justice Hill. Toppled inside the 5, and it's 3rd and goal for Oklahoma State.
And the blueprint for Tony Gibson, the defensive coordinator for West Virginia on 3rd down, especially in the red zone. He either brings everyone or he drops 8 into coverage this close down around the line, around the goal line. They're probably going to bring everyone and force Mason Rudolph to complete a football in one-on-one coverage.
Number 1 red zone defense in the Big 12 as far as keeping teams out of the end zone. Chris Carson comes in on 3rd and goal. They are packing him in there. They swing it out to McCleskey. He slices into the end zone for the Cowboy touchdown.
Well, we talked about West Virginia loading up the box, but watch Austin Hayes. Look at him get a block. And that helps create a seam on the outside for McCleskey to easily walk into the end zone. That's just the numbers matchup, and that's what Oklahoma State is able to do right now because they're so balanced and so effective both running and throwing the football.
17 runs, 18 throws. 2 of them wind up touchdowns for Mason Rudolph. Oklahoma State has a 10-point lead. A 15-play drive capped by McCleskey. Oklahoma State looking for its 4th consecutive win. They lead unbeaten West Virginia 20-10 after this 15-play 5-minute drive that McCleskey finishes off on the short touchdown reception. Cowboys went 4 for 4 on 3rd down on that possession. And as you mentioned, we'll get it to begin the second half. Shelton Gibson hasn't had an opportunity to return one today. Amendola's been good. Kicking into the win this time. Gibson from his own goal line. Trying to get the edge. He does get around the corner and slides up to the 25-yard line. Game 4 of the World Series tonight. John Lackey goes for the Cubs. Corey Kluber on short rest for the Indians. Up 2-1. Game 4 of the World Series. Coverage starting at 7 Eastern on Fox.
The way Kluber's been pitching, I mean, I'm not going to say it's an automatic win, but he's been almost untouchable for the Indians. They could easily go up 3-1 after tonight's game.
Game 1 winner for Cleveland. Word is it gets to a Game 7. Wouldn't balk at bringing him back for a 3rd start in the World Series. So Oklahoma State, which has made a habit out of toppling top 10 opponents under Mike Gundy, has a 20-10 lead on number 10 West Virginia after a half. Total yards pretty even, but a big takeaway with West Virginia backed into its own end, setting up Oklahoma State's first score of the day. Well, first touchdown of the day. Now that's been the equation for him, getting turnovers and converting them into points.
And Oklahoma State's really disrupted the game control that Dana Holgorsen and West Virginia has had all season long. But at this point in time right now, look at the way Oklahoma State's played. They have control of this game.
Let's go down to Jenny Tapp.
Well, Coach, it's always positive when you get the score before the break. How pleased are you with what you're seeing offensively?
Well, I like how we're playing. We're pretty efficient offensively in running the football, which is helping us. Defensively, we have to be better on third down. But I like the effort we're getting. It's a good football game.
Huge turnover for you guys, limiting Skylar Howard. What else do you want to see defensively in the second?
Well, we need to tackle better, and we need to be better on third and long. We had him in several third and longs that we kind of let him off the hook, but you know, got two good football teams playing, pretty entertaining.
Okay, thanks for your time. Good luck in the second.
All right, looking for his 100th career victory and a 20-10 lead. We now go to Rob Stone in Los Angeles.
Joe Brady, thank you, and we welcome you to the State Farm Fox College Football Halftime Show. Robert, Coach, back here with you. Cowboys seeking their 6th top 10 win under Mike Gundy. One of the reasons they're in position to pull that off, Robert, their defense today, and that is the focus of our State Farm Right Combination highlight.
Yeah, and everybody coming into the game talking about West Virginia's defense and how aggressive they are. Glenn Spencer, the defensive coordinator, doing a great job bringing pressure from all sorts of places. Here you can see the corner blitz doesn't get home, but it speeds up the clock in Skylar Howard's head, makes him go and throw the ball where he doesn't want to. Here you can see Vincent Taylor just fighting his way through everybody. 3 tackles in the first half for Taylor, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, a forced fumble, and a pass breakup. Well, he just epitomizes what this Oklahoma State defense has been in this first half.
Yeah, and I'm going to give Mike Gundy some credit. You know, a week ago against Kansas, you know, they gave up 5 sacks. Kansas sacked them 5 times, and what Kansas was doing was rolling the coverage to take away Washington, and Mason Rudolph wasn't quite ready at that time for that adjustment. Well, today it's a copycat league. West Virginia's coming out, and Brady Quinn alluded to it in the telecast. Hey, they're kind of doing a similar thing. They're trying not to give up the big play to Washington. Mason Rudolph is doing a great job now of right away making a decision. We're seeing plays here where he's going to an alternate receiver. Who's ever single covered, I'm coming to him first. And I cannot emphasize enough with Justice Hill how the running game, they're running the football, not for big plays, but they're running enough to be balanced. That's helping that Oklahoma State offense immensely.
And credit to Mike Yursich, the offensive coordinator there at Oklahoma State. He went to Euclid High School, the same high school I went to. So, of course, Euclid Panthers getting it done, too.
Give him a star in his helmet, too, right? He's handing out stars today.
Halloween effect. Game of the day here in the Big 12. Oklahoma State leading West Virginia 20-10, and we welcome you back inside to tee up this second half. Joe and Brady and Jenny down in the field. And your thoughts after 30 minutes of this one?
Really, Oklahoma State has controlled this game, and it really shouldn't be this close when you think about what took place in the first half. Ramon Richards had a golden opportunity at getting an interception, drops it, and what this actually leads to, it prolonged the drive for West Virginia and a Sheldon Gibson touchdown, their only touchdown of the game so far. But Oklahoma State has gotten pressure on Howard. They forced a fumble, and then they did what they do well, and they've been really doing all year long, turning that into points, the touchdown pass to Lacey. So far, you look at this Oklahoma State team, they've been incredibly balanced on offense, and they've been controlling the line of scrimmage up front, which has allowed guys like Whitener and Burton to make a ton of plays, really not allow West Virginia to have that balance on offense for them running the football.
Let's look at the Verizon first half stats. Team's pretty balanced. Just total yards pretty even, but one takeaway for Oklahoma State with West Virginia backed into its own end. A big number on those Verizon first half stats. West Virginia 6-0 for the first time since '06, one of 9 remaining unbeatens in the country. Oklahoma State trying to win its 4th in a row and trying to beat a top 10 opponent for the 5th time in 6 years. Chris Lacey had a receiving touchdown in the first half. He'll take a knee here, and we go down to Jenny Taft.
Well, Joe, Dana Holgorsen, he talked about that turnover in the first half. He said if you take away that turnover, this is really an even game. I've been happy with what I'm seeing. Skylar Howard, he has been okay for us offensively. We can do better. We need to finish in the red zone because we got there 3 times, only capitalized once. And as for this West Virginia team, I can tell you guys, they were out here early, 5 minutes before this half started, ready to go. A lot of energy in the tunnel, guys.
You know, he sees a little bit more even. The problem is they're not pushing the ball down the field. Besides the 1 touchdown to Gibson, we haven't seen Skylar Howard be able to connect with the West Virginia wide receivers on some of those big plays they're known for.
The second half begins with a Justice Hill run and a flag down as Kaiser White rallies with Justin Arndt. Another flag flies, and it will be a face mask on White. It would have been a good play for the West Virginia defense to start half number 2. It will instead be played again. Defense has been the story for much of the year for West Virginia. They're out there to begin this second half,
there
trying to get a
stop. On the play, holding offense number 75. Personal foul, face mask, defense number 8. Those penalties offset, will replay first down.
Go back to Mason Rudolph's first half. Very efficient, didn't force the football. You know, he works with a former Oklahoma State quarterback in his off time, and Zach Robinson. Another prolific passer for the Cowboys throughout the course of his career at Oklahoma State, but he's helped him kind of grow and mature and understand the intangibles and the things that he needs to do off the field, and we've seen that take place really over the course of this season as far as how Mason Rudolph has led this team.
A lot of pre-snap movement from that West Virginia defense. Preceding a straight-ahead fake and a throw over the middle for James Washington. 5th catch of the day, takes him to the 45 on a gain of 21.
We talked with Tony Gibson before the game, and he talked about how they wanted to get up in the face of James Washington, play press man-man coverage. That's not happening so far today.
McCleskey down the sideline gets 6. And when Oklahoma State gets moving, man, do they go fast.
Makes it tough to stop, tough to defend. It's really that basketball and turf. Everyone's kind of calling these Big 12 offenses nowadays.
On 2nd and 4, Rudolph to throw again, pump short. Seam was taken away, and now he throws it out of bounds. So 3rd and 4 on Oklahoma State's first drive of the second half.
This is a big down really for the West Virginia defense. Try to find some sort of way of stopping the bleeding. When Oklahoma State has been successful, being able to put together a few plays, all of a sudden their 3rd down conversion percentage goes up.
Oklahoma State 4 for 4 on 3rd down on that touchdown drive to finish the first half. On 3rd and 4 against a 5-man rush, Rudolph steps out of 1 tackle and back shoulder for Blake Jarwin, tiptoeing the sideline for a first down on a gain of 23.
Well, there's that Cowboy back, number 47, Blake Jarwin. He's a tight end, but he's going to end up catching the football and getting his feet in bounds like a wide receiver. Look at the back shoulder. Couldn't put that ball anywhere else. What a play by the 6'5", 250-pound 5th-year senior out of Tuttle, Oklahoma.
Former walk-on. Mike Yursich, the O coordinator, said he's the kind of guy that you hope your kids grow up to be like. On the 26-yard line with a 1st and 10. Here comes Hill. Through a tiny crack off the left side, gets 3 or 4. Now Rashid Benton, Kahari Sharif combining on the tackle. West Virginia defense coming off dominant performances against normally high-powered offenses. They held TCU 30 points below its average last week. They held Texas Tech to 14 points 2 weeks ago. And then you and I saw what Texas Tech did last week. They put up 59 on Oklahoma. Second down 7. Back-to-back Hill runs. Darian Howard from his nose guard spot makes it 3rd down once again.
Darian Howard, a guy who played middle linebacker. You go back to his high school days. He's done a good job putting on weight, converting into that 0 nose tackle position. Now about 300 pounds, but he's another guy who, again, has that blue-collar work ethic and attitude that they love. As far as his demeanor and how he handles his assignments up front.
See if the Mountaineers can find a way to get off of the field. 3rd down and 6. Bringing pressure. Rudolph throwing. Incomplete. Seals and Fleming out there, and a miscommunication between Rudolph and Seals, making it 4th down.
I mean, Seals thought this was a run play.
Yeah.
I mean, watch him come off the football, kind of stutters, trying to play coy with Maurice Fleming, and then he never really found the football. It's one of those things that could be a miscommunication or maybe a run pass option. You don't necessarily see the signal. A lot of moving parts. Talking about some of these up-tempo, no-huddle offenses.
And Grogan made both of his attempts in the first half. This officially a 39-yarder. It's hooking, and it snaps a string of 9 consecutive makes for Grogan. So Tony Gibson's defense bends but doesn't break early on in the second half. And Skylar Howard in the offense back out there when you come back. Fox College football presented by Verizon is sponsored by Bud Light. Raise one to right now. By Cadillac. And by Wendy's Taco Salad. It's back and fresh as ever. Back here in Stillwater. Skylar Howard in the offense. Ready for their first possession of the second half. On homecoming here at Oklahoma State. It's Justin Crawford in there, running back. He's got it, but he has no room. Devontae Averett jumped on his back, went for a short ride, and a gain of 1, 2nd and 9. So no Shell, who we saw limp off during the first half with some kind of lower body injury. Remember, Crawford only played 1 snap last week because he was dealing with an ankle injury. Second and 9. Howard flushed out by Walter Shy. Turns the shoulders and floats it out of bounds. 3rd and 9.
The West Virginia offense just can't seem to get anything going downfield. Credit the secondary for Oklahoma State. They're doing a good job covering down this dynamic wide receiver group that has been somewhat quiet besides the 1 touchdown pass and the double move to Shelton Gibson. It's almost like Oklahoma State is better off not bringing pressure and just playing coverage, because on that touchdown pass to Gibson, they brought a corner blitz.
Play clock down to 5. Howard all day to throw. Run out of time and just heaves one incomplete. Will that be grounding? That did not make it back to the line of scrimmage. Vincent Taylor, who forced the fumble during the first half, forced the throwaway, and there comes the flag.
Intentional grounding, offense number 3, 5-yard penalty, loss of down. It'll be 4th down.
And this defense is really just playing well together right now. No one open downfield. And watch eventually, number 96, Vincent Taylor, he comes on a little TE stunt and eventually gets to Skylar Howard. Now, Skylar Howard never broke that tackle box. So unfortunately for him, the ball has to travel over the line of scrimmage in order for it not to be intentional grounding, because he was under duress. That tackle box extends all the way to the back end line of the field. He's got to find a way of breaking it horizontally.
Billy Kinney to punt out of his own end zone. Barry J. Sanders will settle under this sky-high punt at midfield. That's where Oklahoma State will begin trying to extend a 20-10 lead here in Stillwater. Fox College football presented by Verizon is sponsored by Progressive, handing off big savings to you. Let's go down to Jenny Taft.
Joe, you mentioned those injuries for West Virginia. I just wanted to confirm, yes, Antonio Crawford will not return. Also, Russell Shell, he is not going to make it back. He's out with a lower body injury, guys.
All right, that is a big blow for Dana Holgerson's team. Shell, their leading rusher, balance such a huge part of their story, and now without their top guy in the backfield.
I mean, look, they're down right now anyway, so they're going to have to throw their way back into this game. The pressure's going to be on Skylar Howard.
From midfield, Rudolph hands it off to Justice Hill with a gain of 2, but with a flag in the area of holding. Schuler and Benton combining on the stop.
Holding, offense number 74. 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
It's Michael Wilson, the right guard.
You know, we haven't heard much really from the linebacker group for West Virginia as far as making plays. It's kind of been the inverted safeties coming down, whether it's Kaiser White or Jeremy Tyler, one of the cornerbacks kind of filling in for support if one of the defensive linemen hasn't made a play. Oklahoma State offensive line has been getting up on those linebackers and allowing their running backs to get to the second level.
First down and 20, soft coverage across the board. First carry for Rennie Childs. And a wall of white shirts. You mentioned the linebackers. There are 2 of them providing that wall, and Benton and Arndt.
This West Virginia defense does such a good job of mixing up looks. They originally had a lot of bodies up around the line of scrimmage, trying to give a look as if they were going to bring pressure, and then they end up dropping 8 and just playing the run responsibilities. It's part of this 3-3-5 scheme in defense that Tony Gibson has implemented here at West Virginia. Solid mix of things that they do, and they try to mimic one another.
On 2nd and 19. Only a 3-man rush. Tight windows to look into, but a perfect throw for Jalen McCleskey. A gain of 17 to make it 3rd and 2.
Jalen McCleskey has such a good feel for the holes in zone coverage. He knows when to turn it on and when to settle. That's a big factor in allowing your quarterback time to be able to find you and then be able to hit you in those open windows.
Oklahoma State taking its time in front of this 3rd down and 2 play. The bigger back, Chris Carson, is in the game. Rudolph lofting one-on-one coverage. And complete, and the official reached for that penalty flag and kept it there in the hip pocket. Fleming the coverage on Washington, 4th down.
Once again, West Virginia brought pressure, enticing Mason Rudolph to take a shot downfield. You see Maurice Fleming very physical with James Washington down the field. You go back to earlier in the game with the offensive pass interference, and I don't think there was much there. There was much more contact on this play. Not very consistent by the side judge.
So 4th and 2, and the punt team comes out. A line drive. Counts it inside the 10. Some English on that thing, down to the 9. A 33-yard punt for Zach Steiner. West Virginia backed into its own end when you come back. Fox College football is presented by Verizon. Back here in Stillwater, where Oklahoma State leads unbeaten West Virginia 20-10. And the Mountaineers' last 4 possessions, Brady, 16 plays, 17 yards.
And we knew there was going to be a cat and mouse game to this because of all the familiarity with both staffs. But the Oklahoma State defense has settled in. They're not allowing really much of a running game for West Virginia. Really covering downfield and then getting pressure on Skylar Howard. Seems to be the recipe for success for Oklahoma State, who's in total control of this game.
Kennedy McCoy, true freshman, comes in at running back. Underneath the kill shorts, gets drilled by Chad Whitener. He's got a new season-high 9 tackles.
And Whitener was able to make that play because the true freshman, Kennedy McCoy, he's going to release up and supposed to lay a block. This is essentially just downfield screen, and McCoy slips, misses Whitener, and Whitener there for the big hit.
Started his career at Cal, now in his 3rd season at Oklahoma State. He's turned into one of their Primary leaders on this side of the ball.
For how big
Number
he is.
6 must leave the game for one play due to injury.
For how big Whitener is, he moves extremely well in space. You know, he looks like one of those prototypical middle linebackers that's a run stuffer, but he's pretty good running around the field sideline to sideline.
6 foot 250. Oklahoma State showing middle pressure. On 2nd and 9, they bring it. It's picked up. So Howard with time to loft one, but didn't give Durant a chance. 3rd and 9.
There's just nothing there. You're looking at the coverage downfield by this Oklahoma State secondary. I mean, they're playing tight man-to-man coverage. When they drop into zone, they're matching wide receivers.
Devontae Mathis, his first catch of the day, is a first down to the 23. There is a flag down way back at the 32-yard line.
I think it's a substitution fraction.
Illegal substitution on the defense, 12 men on the field. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down.
You know, usually you have issues substituting when a team's down in the red zone if West Virginia was driving. But in this case, they're backed up. Oklahoma State tried to substitute, and it was the big boys up front who were trying to run in and out. It's usually because they're not, you know, as quick getting off the field.
Right. First down, 23-yard line. Kennedy McCoy with a short gain. Tripped up from behind by Vincent Taylor, having a heck of a game for the Cowboys.
Heck of a game, heck of a season. I mean, this guy is about as active as it gets up front for a defensive tackle. Coming into this game, had 24 tackles, sack and a half.
2nd and 9. Howard scanning, feeling pressure and going down. Billy Leveni with the sack, making it 3rd and long.
Billy Leveni, but once again, watch number 96. Watch Vincent Taylor. Little pick stunt, and eventually he forces Howard to step up. And Leveni ends up getting the sack, but once again, man, Vincent Taylor's relentless. I mean, obviously he's one of the best tackles in the Big 12, but he's making a case of being one of the best tackles in the country.
It's the 4th sack of the day for Oklahoma State, and it's 3rd and 14.
Once again, West Virginia finds themselves in 3rd and long.
Howard over the middle for Shorts, who goes back and gets it. We'll see where they spot it. Right on that yellow line, and that's right where the mark is. This may require a measurement.
And that's been the combination on 3rd down. Da'Keil Shorts, Skylar Howard somewhere around the middle of the field.
Timeout for a measurement.
When Oklahoma State plays that soft zone coverage. As he wraps into this window in the middle of the field. He should have just enough. Now that yellow line is not official, but it gives you some sort of idea of what the first down markers are.
Dana Holgerson out there to get a good look. And if this is short, they no doubt would request that they take another look. Barely enough to keep this drive moving. That's a big play for West Virginia.
Just the tip of the football. And that's a huge drive, momentum swing, really, and field position battle as well. Skylar Howard locked in on Da'Keil Shorts downfield. The adjustment by Shorts. We've seen Shelton Gibson make an adjustment like that. All these wide receivers for West Virginia can make plays when the ball is thrown in their direction. It's just a matter of having a catchable football.
Shorts again. Lindsey Pipkins with the tackle. 2nd and 6. 7 receptions now for Shorts.
I wonder if West Virginia wants to speed up their tempo a little bit more. That's helped Mason Rudolph on their scoring drives, and in particular when they've moved the ball down the field effectively. Maybe West Virginia needs to take a note of Oklahoma State's playbook.
On 3rd and 6, or on 2nd and 6, he finds White, who's got a first down into Oklahoma State territory. Again in the quick game. Gibson juggles and drops it. 2nd and 10.
Just playing too fast. If you're talking about Shelton Gibson on that last play. Good ball, good throw by Skylar Howard. Put it right at his face mask where you want it. Makes it near impossible for him to miss that catch, but just tried to turn upfield before he had secured the football.
Second down and 10 for West Virginia. Converted a pair of 3rd downs on this drive. Trying to get back to within 1 score. Trying to remain unbeaten. Kennedy McCoy with no room. And again, it's Chad Whitener sticking his nose in the hole. 3rd down and 8 or 9 for the Mountaineers.
This is probably 2-down territory for West Virginia. I would imagine they still could either run or throw the football here, given it's too far for a field goal. Down by 10 points a little bit early, but I think as aggressive as Dana Holgorsen is, he's probably got 2 plays dialed up for this situation.
Look at that. They've averaged 3rd down and 11. This is 3rd and 9. Howard off the mark. Behind Marcus Sims, who only has 1 catch in his career. And 4th down in kind of that in-between territory at the 41. Here comes the punt team.
Guess he's not trying to be aggressive. It's a little more Dana Holgorsen style. And you see how fired up he is. Upset with Marcus Sims. Clearly him and Skylar Howard weren't on the same page. Marcus Sims, a true freshman out of Sandy Spring, Maryland. You know, he's had an increased role the last few weeks at wide receiver.
And Dana, former receiver himself, expects a lot out of that group. Losing his mind on Sims there. Almost got to that one. And it bounces into the end zone. Oklahoma State in front of Dana Holgorsen and the Mountaineers by 10. Fox College football is presented by Verizon. 20-10 Oklahoma State. And we take a look at the Big 12 standings, sponsored by Sonic, an official sponsor of the Big 12 Conference. West Virginia, for the first time since joining the conference a few years back, is 3-0. Trying to keep pace with Oklahoma and Baylor. And Oklahoma State sitting right there on the edge of the discussion.
You look at this 5-2 record. Probably should be 6-1 when you think about that Central Michigan game and how it was mismanaged by the officials.
Justice Hill hit in the backfield by Wachuku. Had a good first quarter, but that's the first we've heard from him since.
You talk about adjustments, you know, for both of these staffs, given how familiar they are with one another. I can assure you, every time they're coming off the field, they're trying to change something different. And after the first quarter, what Chuku had, I guarantee you, Mike Gundy said, we've got to get bodies on him. We've got to make sure we have a double team on him before we work up to the 2nd level in our run blocking.
Been an efficient day for Mason Rudolph. 1 year after he threw a career-high 3 interceptions against West Virginia. Throws this one over the head of Lacey. A couple of times we've seen miscommunications between Rudolph and his receivers, and it's 3rd down and long.
Once again, West Virginia brought a pressure, really no one to fake to for Mason Rudolph. He seemed a little bit surprised and just not on the same page between Chris Lacey and Mason Rudolph. I think Rudolph was expecting him to continue upfield instead of stopping. Now a 3rd and long. For West Virginia, this would be a huge stop if you're trying to play that field position battle.
2 stops on 2 drives so far in the second half. Tony Gibson's defense getting the job done. And on 3rd and 10, they rush only 4. Xavier Preston got home but couldn't pull him down until the 2nd try. The junior linebacker from Stuart, Florida, comes up with a big sack and makes it 4th down.
All these linebackers, they rotate in and around, but they are relentless. Xavier Preston misses him the first time around. Mason Rudolph, the most athletic quarterback. He can move a little bit in the pocket, but couldn't get away from Preston, and a huge stop for the Mountaineers.
Gary Jennings back to return Zach Seiner's punt. West Virginia set to get good field position, down 2 scores. A line drive. And it bounces down to the 45, and it was touched at the 46. Back in 30 seconds. Been a while since West Virginia has found the end zone. Down 2 scores late in the third quarter. Howard scanning the field. Karan White off his hands and picked off by Richards. Ramon Richards cutting back against the grain. Getting blocks. Richards takes it back inside the 20, inside the 10.
West Virginia keeps trying to work this soft spot in the zone coverage, the deep dig route to Karan White, but the ball is a bit behind. White probably could have caught it, but there's Ramon Richards making up for that dropped interception in the first half. This time he capitalizes with a big-time return, setting up his offense for the potential of a big score.
Former high school quarterback showing some of his abilities with the ball in his hands, taking it back 52 yards, and a first down and goal for Oklahoma State. Jack Veach in there, leading the way for Justice Hill, who gets 2. Now Benton comes up with a tackle, 2nd and goal. Touchdown here would be huge for Oklahoma State.
Especially the way the Oklahoma State defense is playing. I mean, not really allowing anything as far as production for West Virginia. Talking about being down by 3 scores, if they are indeed able to capitalize here.
Hardest defense in the Big 12 to capitalize against in the red zone. On 2nd and goal. They run it again. And Barry J. Sanders makes it 3rd and goal with a carry of 4.
So Oklahoma State brings in 2 tight ends to try to pound the football a little bit, now substituting. And they keep going to this 3 wide receiver set. You can see all 3 down here to the bottom of the field. And it forces West Virginia to put more bodies on the outside, giving a more favorable box count to run the football. Or they utilize one of the one-on-one matchups. If they don't.
Rudolph keeps it. He's in. Touchdown, Oklahoma State.
The last person that the West Virginia defense expected to keep the football and run in for a score, 2nd touchdown of the season.
The story today, a pair of takeaways for Oklahoma State. Both turned into touchdowns. And a 27-10 lead on number 10. Interception from Ramon Richards was returned 52 yards to tee up Rudolph's touchdown. Back in 30 seconds.
Oklahoma State able to capitalize off of a turnover. That's 14 points in today's game. But you see the zone read with Mason Rudolph keeping the football. Tough run. It's not that athletic, but you get him down around the goal line. He's got enough athleticism and size to power his way through. The West Virginia defense right now really just can't pick which way to be right.
After shutting down Texas Tech and TCU, they've seen Oklahoma State put up 27 in 3 quarters. Time for the KFC stat comparison. The total yards are not a whole lot different, but we keep harping on the turnovers. An interception thrown by Howard. He also fumbled it. They've turned into a pair of touchdowns for Rudolph and Oklahoma State. Skylar Howard in this offense now in its largest hole of the season. Down 17 with just more than 17 minutes to play. Justin Crawford makes a cutback. Here's a big play to start the drive for West Virginia. Crawford going for 17 with Russell Shell done for the day with a leg injury.
This is exactly what the West Virginia offense needs to get some sort of a semblance of balance in the running game.
Kennedy McCoy has room. The freshman speedster rips off 15 more.
That's really where West Virginia has been most successful running the football, getting out onto the perimeter, getting to the edge. Their wide receivers do a pretty solid job of blocking downfield and allowing the running backs to be able to get up to the second level.
Howard checks it down. McCoy juggles, and Stearns able to trip him up. Finish forward for a gain of 4. 2nd and 6. West Virginia's perfect season on the line right here with a minute and a half left in the 3rd. Howard back to throw. Goes out to Crawford. Nice job to keep him on the move with that throw. Right across the chest pad. Near the first down marker. It'll be 3rd and 2. Take what the defense gave him. Karan White moves the chains.
One up 17 points. That's what defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer is going to force Skylar Howard to do. He's going to try to make them have to earn their way down the field and hope for maybe a stop in the red zone once you get to that shortened part of the field.
From the 28-yard line, Oklahoma State brings an extra man. Crawford dancing his way through traffic to the 25 for 3.
If you're Oklahoma State, the one thing to be careful of is you got beat for a touchdown earlier in this game on a double move, and they keep kind of throwing these hitches. You got to look out for a hitch and go, something on the outside, a little double move to bait your cornerbacks into taking the cheese.
It's a double move that led to the lone touchdown of the day for West Virginia to Shelton Gibson. Inside a half minute in this 3rd quarter. Gibson to the top of the screen. Hold on with Shorts. On the ground, it's McCoy. Bouncing to the outside. Kennedy McCoy makes it 1st down at the Oklahoma State 12. And this is quite a responsive drive right now when West Virginia needed it most.
We really have both the run and the pass game working, and that's when West Virginia is most effective. And the other thing you'll notice, they've picked up their tempo a bit. Now they get closer to the red zone. They want to kind of take as much time to make sure they get the perfect play call, and they'll take the quarter.
Dana Holgerson's team facing its largest deficit of the season. On to the 4th quarter. Trying to come from behind to keep the record perfect. Oklahoma State trying to pull off another top 10 win. Time for the Nissan Heisman Watch.
Well, you have to think Lamar Jackson's still the leader in the clubhouse, but Deshaun Watson with a big game today versus Florida State. I could vault him up there. Pepper's already with a rushing touchdown today versus Michigan State. Jake Browning, a guy who needs to get more focus and emphasis, but he's going to have a big matchup on FS1 after our game versus Utah. And then Jonathan Allen trying to give some defensive players a little bit of love. 6 sacks on the season. Look at that fumble recovery for a touchdown last week versus A&M.
Skylar Howard to throw to begin this 4th quarter, and it's incomplete out in front of Trevon Wesco. Coverage from Devontae Averett. 2nd down and 10. This is West Virginia's first trip into the red zone since that touchdown in the 2nd quarter to Shelton Gibson. That's the first incompletion of this drive for Skylar Howard, who completed his first 4. Quarterback draw. Howard off the left side. Inside the 5 and in. Touchdown West Virginia. Elijah Wellman clears the way. And West Virginia's back to within 2 scores to start the 4th.
Well, this is what's made the West Virginia offense more efficient this year is Skylar Howard's ability to run the football. They run a little quarterback counter to the weak side of their formation. And Joe, you hit it on the head. Elijah Wellman, the guy to kind of seal the hole to allow Howard to get into the end zone. He's another one of those guys blue-collar guy. They ask him to do a lot of different things, and he helps pave the way for the running backs and Howard in the running game.
Extra point from Molina, and it's a 10-point game. It was Skyler Howard, but he was behind Elijah Wellman, who they say stands for the West Virginia brand. Mountaineers back to within 10. One of the nation's 9 remaining unbeatens. Playing an early game, 11 a.m. local start, in a place where plenty of teams have fallen after good starts in top 10 rankings. 4 of the last 5 years, Oklahoma State has knocked off a top 10 team. Barry J. Sanders back to return Molina's kick. He'll bring it out. The Stanford transfer, the legend's son, out to the 20. Back to the studio for a game break with Mike Hill.
All right, Joe, 5th-ranked Louisville trailed Virginia by 10 in the 3rd, but the Cardinals, of course, have this kid named Lamar Jackson, and he's quite special. 8-yard strike right there for the Heisman Trophy candidate to Reggie Bonifant. Still 17-14 Cavs, though, in the 4th. Joe and Brady, back to you.
Bonifant used to be a former quarterback. How about that? Quarterback to former QB, but I don't know if there's any player on any team that's as valuable to his team's success as Lamar Jackson. So when you're talking about the Heisman, if that guy doesn't get it, I don't know who should.
So from the 21-yard line. First down pass play, Jalen McCleskey, and it's blown up by Maurice Fleming. The Iowa transfer, first and only season at West Virginia, shuts that play down.
Well, look how aggressive he is versus James Washington, who's trying to lead block. Literally pushes Washington right into McCleskey to make the tackle. Kind of a big group hug there.
Fleming, a guy that missed the first half last week after a targeting call against Texas Tech. It's been back-to-back weeks that a DB for West Virginia has been called for targeting. 2nd down, 11. Fake to Childs. Rudolph scans and will throw it away. And so West Virginia makes it 3rd down and 11.
Rudolph trying to work to James Washington, but Fleming, once again, solid job in coverage. Up in James Washington's grill and just doesn't let him get outside. Maybe a little grabbing and tugging there at the end, but at that point in time, Mason Rudolph already threw away the football. That injury to Antonio Crawford. Now we've got another West Virginia defensive player on the field.
And that is Rasul Douglas, their top corner. We'll take a break. Fox College Football, presented by Verizon, is sponsored by State Farm, here to help life go right. By Dr. Pepper, it's a college football tradition. And by Dell. These murals are all around campus for homecoming. It's a fraternity and sorority tradition. They stay up all night finishing these and reveal them homecoming morning. Pretty awesome all around town. Rasul Douglas left the game and now on the bike trying to work something out, but they are getting dangerously thin at corner right now. It's Nana Kyram that comes in defending Jalen McCleskey. Rudolph on 3rd down, back to throw, running out of room, and he will go down after a gain of 4. Wachuku tripped him up. Kyram was there as well, and West Virginia again forces a punt.
This West Virginia defense has really stepped up, doing a better job in coverage downfield. You've noticed they've limited James Washington. He's kind of been the spark plug for the passing offense next to Jalen McCleskey. So far, neither guy really in the second half has really been able to get going. Credit the West Virginia defense.
It's the 3rd 3-and-out forced by West Virginia during the second half. That is a missile of a punt. All the way back to the 15. Here comes Gary Jennings trying to get outside. Oklahoma State special teams as good as any in the country. Tackle from Derek Moncrief. Every weekday morning, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. It's Undisputed with Skip and Shannon. Weekdays from 9:30 a.m. to noon Eastern on FS1. FS1 is where you can also find Utah-Washington coming up in just a bit. One of the nation's 9 unbeatens there in Washington. One of the nation's 9 unbeatens here in West Virginia, trying to erase what was a 17-point deficit to begin the fourth. From the 17-yard line, Crawford with a hole. Crawford with a first down. Up to the 36 on a gain of 19.
What the West Virginia offense has been doing to help remove an Oklahoma State defender from the boxes, they've been motioning one of their running backs outside the tackle box. As we take a look at Justin Crawford, who's down on the field. Look how they motion McCoy outside. That allows a seam for Crawford to be able to get upfield. Because that defender has to bump over and moves outside, they're not able to keep the run gap integrity.
The crowd booing because Crawford, after his shoe came off, you might have seen, just laid there to make sure that they didn't lose any time they were owed on that play clock. Got him off the field, got a sub. Howard well protected. Open receiver for a first down is short. So when he's got that much time to pick apart that defense, that's likely going to be the result. A gain of 16 to midfield.
8 receptions on the day to Da'Keil Shorts. He's been the favorite target for Skylar Howard. And he's been able to find the soft spots and has a feel for that Oklahoma State secondary.
McCoy into the arms of Taylor. And it's second down and 8 or 9.
One of the things you're kind of noticing the second half of this West Virginia offense on some of their more successful drives is their production on first down. Not a big gain there, but they're having more production running the football, and in particular on first down.
Pressure coming. They throw into it. Karan White has a gain of 6, and it's 3rd and 2 with a stop from Richards. Bigger personnel coming in for West Virginia. The fullback Wellman, the tight end Wesco. In front of 3rd down and 2. Straight downhill, it's McCoy with a first down. Inside the 30. And another lead block plowing the way by Elijah Wellman.
And this is just one-on-one football. Elijah Wellman's going to lead through on the fullback lead. They call that the bob, meaning back on backer. And Wellman leads the way, helping to create that hole. And that's the difference, too, with this West Virginia offense from maybe years past with Dana Holgorsen, is they will put their quarterback under center. They'll get in the I formation, and they'll basically tell you, we're going to run the football. It's going to be a power style of running scheme, and you try to stop us.
Wellman's abilities flashing back a little bit to Owen Schmidt, former West Virginia fullback. Here comes a trick play. Around the edge, it's Durant. A block in front. Stays on his feet. Inside the 10. 1st and goal, West Virginia. 21 yards for Javon Durant.
Well, they've been setting this up all day long. They get the defense to flow, and there's the easy flip to Durant, who's able to get to the perimeter. You're going to credit Adam Pankey, the left tackle, too, helping to create a little extra room out there blocking in space. Nice job by the 5th-year senior.
Here comes Crawford. Tripped up. Flying off of the edge was Pipkins. 2nd and goal.
Seems like all the momentum has changed now as West Virginia is starting to play better on both sides of the ball. Got the running game going. Skylar Howard's been more efficient throwing the football.
They've gone 2 quarters without a trip into the red zone. Now they've done it on back-to-back drives. Knocking on the door again, 2nd and goal. Wellman leads the way again, but no space for Crawford, and it's third down.
When they came back with the same exact play that they ran to get the first down before, again, the fullback lead going to the other side. Oklahoma State makes the adjustment. It's able to stuff the hole to put it into a third and goal.
Howard throwing, end zone shot, knocked away by Richards. White wanted a flag, won't get it. And it's fourth down.
Ramon Richards almost with his fourth interception of the season, working one-on-one versus Karan White. That is a long throw, and if you're a quarterback, you cannot leave that short. You have to throw it over the top to the outside where White has leverage to the back pylon is how they coach it. This is an underthrown football. Ramon Richards was able to get that.
And Dana not happy with some of the things he's seeing today. Molina from 21 yards. Boy, Taylor almost got another. That thing whispered by Vincent Taylor's hand. West Virginia back to within a score. Fox College football is presented by Verizon. It's a 7-point game after the Molina field goal, which almost was the 6th block this year for Oklahoma State.
4th for Vincent Taylor. He's the man you're going to see. He almost tips his football. See that hand? That's Vincent Taylor. Just an unbelievable job. And Joe Bob Clements, their D-line coach, he coaches this situation no different than it was third down or goal line. They really take their time in the film room to study the field goal and the PAT protection units and how they can try to exploit any sorts of seams to get these blocks.
Molina to kick. Lacey and Sanders waiting back for Oklahoma State. Sanders. With a nice return to the 32. Game break time. Hello again, Mike Hill.
Well, guys, just like West Virginia, Louisville once trailed by double digits, but the Cardinals have a guy named Lamar Jackson to help them overcome deficits. So Reggie Bonifant, 10-yard strike. Jackson's third passing TD of the day. 5th-ranked Card now up for the first time today, 21-17 in the 4th.
7 of the 9 unbeatens left in the country on the road today. And you see there one of them erasing a deficit. West Virginia trying to do the same in this one. They trailed 27-10 to begin this 4th quarter. It's now 27-20. Mason Rudolph looking into pressure. Stepped away from one man. Into traffic. It's caught. McCleskey's got a first down. Rudolph kept the play alive, and McCleskey got 13.
Yeah, that play was possible because of the awareness by Mason Rudolph in the pocket to move and then keep his eyes downfield to find McCleskey, who was nifty in space to get open.
This is the 6th drive of the second half for Oklahoma State. It's only the 3rd drive where they've gotten a first down. Fake to Hill, throw to McCleskey on the screen, tackled by Arndt. 2nd and 3.
This West Virginia defense has tried to limit James Washington in this game as there's another West Virginia defensive player down on the field.
And it is worth mentioning that the temperature's in the mid-80s today, and so while you don't normally associate late October games with cramping, it is unseasonably warm here. Take a break. Be back in a moment. Fox College football is presented by Verizon. Closing minutes here in Stillwater. Later tonight, Game 4 of the World Series. Lackey against Kluber. History happening now. Indians trying to win their first World Series since 1948. Cubs trying to win their first since 1908. Coverage starts at 7 Eastern on Fox. 2nd down and 3 for Mason Rudolph and the Cowboys. Justice Hill, first down. Darian Howard, the tackle. Hill just now moving over 50 yards for the day. Lost his shoe. Was able to get it back on in time to take the fake. Rudolph getting to the outside and running out of bounds after 3. He threw a stiff arm about 5 yards from the defender.
I think he was telling him to stop.
Yeah,
I don't want to be
away.
hit. Yeah.
You got the orange jersey on. You can't hit me. Inside of 8. Rudolph's been efficient today, 22 of 32, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
It's interesting they kind of ran that last play more up tempo. You'd think they want to work the clock a bit more, given the fact they got a 7-point lead and running the football effectively.
Fakes to Carson. It's McCleskey, one-on-one, can't get away from Fleming. Make that Jared Harper was there to stop him. And it's 3rd down and long for Oklahoma State.
Well, look, West Virginia is playing more man-to-man coverage because they've got to put an extra body down in the box to stop the run. So those sorts of passes, they're not going to work. If you're going to have a run-pass option, you've got to throw something downfield. You can't be throwing it back behind the line of scrimmage.
Tony Gibson's defense has found a way in this second half to allow the offense to get back into the game. Trying to get one more stop here on 3rd down and 8. Rudolph off play action. Zips one for Lacey and an Oklahoma State first down. 19 yards to convert 3rd down.
Lacey was able to beat Rasul Douglas out of the cut on his in route to find that open space for Mason Rudolph.
He'll throw again. Outside Washington. 1st and goal. Oklahoma State.
This is when the offense has been at its best, when they play that up-tempo. They put the pressure on the West Virginia defense, in particular those secondary players and the guys on the outside.
But then, like you mentioned, there's the matter of balancing that with managing the clock.
Seems like Oklahoma State wants to get points instead of worried about how much time they turn off the clock.
Run a little bit more before this play, which is 1st and goal. Carson nose down. Gets 3, 2nd down.
So one of the things too about the West Virginia defensive scheme, that 3-3-5, when you talk to them, they don't have to worry about getting lined up and setting the front one way or another because they've only got 3 guys on their defensive front. There's going to be a guy over the center and 2 guys over the tackles. And then each cornerback stays on each side of the field. So for the most part, the moving parts are intact. It's just the interior of the defense that moves around a little bit. But even then, the up-tempo still gets after you after you face so many plays.
Throwing the fade. It's Lacey. It's a touchdown. Lacey over Battle. Coming up limping. They will most certainly take a look at this.
Well, a perfectly thrown ball by Mason Rudolph, the opposite of what we saw from Skylar Howard on his fade ball. Up top to the outside, Lacey high points the football and gets that right foot inbounds for the touchdown. Runs into the wall. Close confines here in Stillwater.
The ball came out at the end.
I think the wall aided him in actually kind of keeping it between his legs from touching the ground. It's a unique rule. You don't see many places where the wall is that close to the end zone where it can aid you in completing the catch.
And they say play on, so it stands. Lacey came into the game without a touchdown this year. He's got 2 today. And Mason Rudolph on that drive, a perfect 6 for 6 to get Oklahoma State back in front by 2 scores. A fade to Lacey over Battle. Oklahoma State minutes away from pulling off an upset. Fox College Football presented by Verizon. Join a better network because better matters. Oklahoma State's been a little bit better today. Up 2 touchdowns on West Virginia with 5:15 to go. Still plenty of time for the Mountaineers to dig out of this hole. All 3 timeouts left for them. 6-0 record on the line right now. And this whole knocking off top 10 teams has been somewhat of a habit for Oklahoma State under Mike Gundy. You go back to 2008 at third-ranked Missouri. They slowed that really potent Missouri offense and beat them. Back when Texas A&M was in the conference, 2011. This started a string of 5 years entering this year where Mike Gundy's team beat a top 10 team 4 times. And so today, trying to make it 5 seasons out of the last 6 where his squad has a top 10 upset.
You go back to last year, beating TCU, who was number 5 at the time. Intercepted Trevon Boykin 4 times. Had a goal line stand, a red zone stand to really cement the victory.
Skylar Howard starts his drive with a dart into traffic and complete. Jarrell Morrow, first time we've called his name, but Mike Gundy was confident that he'd play a role in this game at some point.
Yeah, more of a core special teams player, but a guy who he'll mix in from time to time because secondary players have to rotate, face a lot of plays. Situations too where you're playing more prevent defense. He's going to get some looks and some touches as they play more of this cloud defense. They're going to play zone with 2 guys out on the sidelines and put a guy in the middle of the field to defend that.
Pressure coming on second down. Howard off his back foot hits Durant, who can really fly. There is a flag down. Durant takes it all the way to the 40, but flags littering the surface. And now Durant is hurt.
And Justin Crawford blocked below the waist. And the Oklahoma State defender, and he's going to get flagged for this.
The only way you can go low is if you're head up on the guy.
Yeah.
Personal foul, illegal block below the waist, number 25 of the offense. Half the distance to the goal from the spot of the foul. Replay second down.
No need for it.
No, there was no need. I mean, he didn't need to go low. He easily had position with Jarrell Morrow coming his way. There's another look, and you can clearly see Crawford tries to chop down Morrow. Literally flips him upside down and takes away what would have been a huge play and a huge gain for this West Virginia offense at a time where you need it the most.
Negates 47 yards with 5 minutes left to go. Second down, 21. Crawford got 6 or 7 back. He was down before the ball came out. Third down and long for West Virginia, getting close to where it may be 4 down territory.
If you're West Virginia, you've got to find a way of, again, continue to attack that zone part in the middle of the field. That's when they've been most successful.
That's where Howard's going, but he's picked off. All the way back to the 10. It's the seldom used Kevin Henry with the interception.
Well, this is where Skylar Howard's been effective, but you see him. There's Kevin Henry in the middle of the field reading Skylar Howard's eyes, just getting depth, and he almost hits him right between the numbers.
And the third West Virginia turnover of the day might just spell the end of their unbeaten run.
Trying to get it to Da'Keil Shorts. How many times have we seen him catch the ball over the middle of the field? But defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer dropping 8 guys in coverage. Just too many mistakes for this West Virginia team to remain undefeated. I know there's time left, but seems unlikely.
Justice Hill keeps those legs churning. Down to the 6. Turnover story tells the game's story in this one. Some extracurricular afterwards. trying to make it 21 points off 3 West Virginia turnovers. Meanwhile, Tony Gibson's team has not taken it once from Mike Gundy and the Cowboys.
And you look at the Oklahoma State defense coming into this game, you know, they average giving up about 450 yards a game, which is not good. It's definitely in the bottom quarter of college football. But it's, you know, the red zone and some other places where they're able to get turnovers, they're able to kind of limit teams and shut teams down once that field shortens. And that's the name of the ball game nowadays against these high-powered offenses.
Here comes Chris Carson. 3rd and goal now. And so you start to think big picture about Oklahoma State. And we've talked a couple of times about
Oh no, here we go. I mean, it's the conversation about the Central Michigan game, and rightfully so when we talk to Mike Gundy. You know, it's unfortunate because it was mishandled the way that game ended. Oklahoma State should only have 1 loss right now, but it doesn't appear as if they're going to go back and give them that win. But this is an Oklahoma State team that could make a run still for the Big 12 championship, given what we have left still to play. And then if they win the Big 12 championship, you're talking about a 1-loss Big 12 champion and a possible chance of making the college football playoff.
On that play clock all the way down, and we'll take a timeout. This is week 2. They tried to kill the game's final 4 seconds on 4th down. They were called for intentional grounding.
So you could make the case here that, look, Oklahoma State, they didn't execute the play properly. You either put an eligible wide receiver out there, throw it over his head, then that could be considered, you know, incomplete. It wouldn't be intentional grounding. Or you roll the quarterback out of the pocket. But at the end of the day, there shouldn't have been an additional untimed down. That's the bottom line. The officials botched the call. It gave Central Michigan the win, or at least one more opportunity to throw the Hail Mary with the pitch back for the dramatic play. But that play never should have taken place. And that's the thing, is it's unfortunate for the young men that are affected now by it for Oklahoma State, because, you know, it could possibly take away their chance at trying to play for the Big 12 championship and potentially a college football playoff.
Yeah, and it's not like it was a missed call in the final few plays of the game where you could say it cost them. You can definitively say it cost them because the final play never should have happened based on the missed call.
Now, you could make a case that that's a flaw in the rule book, and I wouldn't be surprised, because you should be able to end the game on a penalty where you have a loss of down, and you basically can end the game on a legal play. So you could say that, yeah, maybe that's a rule that should be changed in the future because of that circumstance or that, you know, unique situation. But at the end of the day, as it is written now, Oklahoma State should have won that game.
3rd down goal, trying to finish things off against West Virginia here. Carson cutting, stays on his feet, reaches inside the 1. 4th and goal now. What are you doing?
Well, if it's me, I mean, look, you've got a field goal kicker who's almost automatic. You just kick the field goal. You're up by 3 scores. But I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't try to go for it. I mean, you're pinning them anyways if you don't get it. But the likelihood of you getting the, you know, what is it, a foot, what they need for the touchdown? Go up 21 points. And
who's coming in? Mote Miley, one of the defensive tackles who's had such a good day.
He's got a rugby background, and they've brought him in a number of times in these goal line situations to help pave the way for the running backs for Oklahoma State.
Took a delay. That would lead me to believe they're going to kick.
But if you're Miley, how upset are you? You have to run out on the field and run back, especially as well as he's played today alongside of Vincent Taylor on the defensive front. And if you're Oklahoma State, you had a timeout. So
So Mike Gundy finds himself a minute 44 from a big win, not just within the context of West Virginia being a top 10 team, but it would be win number 100 of Mike Gundy's career here at Oklahoma State.
And how about that? You put him in a company with, what, 6 other active head coaches in the country who've amassed 100 wins at one school. And then you put him in the category of alums, guys who've come back to coach at their alma mater. You'd have to say he's the most successful.
Grogan trying to seal the deal.
The previous play of the runner being short of the goal line is under further review.
How in the world does that happen now? And so they will take a look.
And he's on top of the defender, but as you can see, his elbow touches the ground, which would then elbow/forearm, which would then make him considered down. You'd happen to break the plane, even though he's on top of a defensive player, he wouldn't be considered down. But once an elbow, forearm touches the ground, it should be where the ball is marked. And from this angle, might even be a little bit closer, but I don't think it breaks the plane. Tremendous effort when you think about how that play started. I mean, Chris Carson kept working his way through a couple West Virginia defenders.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. It'll be 4th down.
All right.
And then I'm curious, though. I mean, there was the delay of game penalty, which awkward timing for the review. I mean,
really awkward, yeah. All right, 22-yarder from Grogan coming. Trying to make it a 3-score game and essentially finish this. Oklahoma State's all-time leading scorer. A bit of a tough angle. Got it. And Oklahoma State is going to knock off 10th-ranked West Virginia. 17 points off of 3 West Virginia turnovers, and the lead is 17. Time for our progressive performance of the game. We told you Mason Rudolph last year was picked 3 times by West Virginia. Today, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah, we're going to show you some of these touchdown passes, him basically managing and distributing the football effectively. What I think I was most impressed by was when West Virginia brought pressure early, he was able to complete it. He found James Washington. He found McCleskey. He was able to answer that pressure, and that really stymied the West Virginia defense early on, where they were able to build a lead 20-10 at halftime, and then really they took control of the game, both defensively and on offense, then running the football. And the running touchdown, too. How about that?
How about it?
Showing off those wheels.
Skylar Howard, meanwhile, 24 of 39. He was intercepted twice, fumbled once. Oklahoma State would move to 6-2, 3-1 in the conference. West Virginia would be 6-1, 3-1 as well. And so both would be looking up at Oklahoma and Baylor, both unbeaten in Big 12 play. You're talking about Mike Gundy and how unique it is to have 100 wins in this day and age at one school with all the turnover there is. This is the list.
How about this, though? 4 of these 5 are all Big 12 coaches. You know, Kirk Ferentz, who's been at Iowa forever, but and I know TCU just entered the Big 12, but you kind of look at the patience of these Big 12 universities with their coaching staffs. They don't panic when they have a bad year. Stick with them. They understand the process, understand sometimes you're going to have down recruiting years and all of that. Pretty interesting to see that dynamic, how it plays out as far as the Big 12 versus other Power 5 conferences.
Kennedy McCoy on a first down draw crosses the 35. Another guy who's on that list, didn't make the graphic, but he's right up there among those guys is Kyle Whittingham at Utah. No kickoff on FS1 in merely minutes in the Pac-12 game of the year to this point against unbeaten Washington. McCoy again. Another first down to midfield. West Virginia was without Russell Shell for much of the day today. But really, they got themselves into a hole with the turnovers. Shell's absence became less of a story.
There's some penalties, too. You know, you go back through the game. Untimely penalties, not a huge variance, but some penalties, or even some penalties that weren't accepted by Oklahoma State.
False start. Offense, number 70. 5-yard penalty.
Speaking of those, 6th of the day for West Virginia.
Sometimes that happens. You got an early start on the road. 11 a.m. kick here in Stillwater. You hate to say it, even though you're a top 10 ranked team, it's tough for anyone to wake up that time and kind of get going. And fortunately, that led kind of to the demise today of West Virginia.
Crawford inside the 50.
25.
Kenneth Edison Magruder the tackle. So West Virginia will try to get back on track against Kansas. Oklahoma State at Kansas State next week.
And what about this Oklahoma State defense, though, and the job that defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer has done? They've given up more yards. When you look at the comparison between the two teams. But at the end of the day, they generated the turnovers. They were able to capitalize off of them. And that's what's going to equate to the win, and that's what's really fueled this Oklahoma State team this season.
So for the 5th time in the last 6 years, Oklahoma State knocks off a top 10 opponent. And Mike Gundy gets win number 100 as head coach of the Cowboys. And they got him.
Got that mullet wet, man. The back of that thing. So now, see, you have business up front for game day. Now party in the back so you can celebrate the big win. It's awesome.
So West Virginia's perfect season comes to an end. They fall to 6-1. Down to 8 unbeatens in the country. One of those 8 getting ready to kick off against Utah on FS1 in Salt Lake City. That's Washington.
Can't wait to watch that game. A legitimate Heisman contender at quarterback and Jake Browning. See if they can remain unbeaten versus a tough, stingy Utah defense.
It's time now for Coca-Cola's The Taste of Winning interview. Down to Jenny.
Well, Coach, first of all, I got to acknowledge that you are drenched right now. Congratulations on that 100th win for you with the program. What does it mean to you?
Well, it means a lot for Oklahoma State University, our fans, and really our team. A great effort today. We felt good about the game, but when you play a team that's ranked top 10 in the country and is playing as well as they are, the defense has really been untouched up to this point in the year. You have concerns, and our defense was tremendous in forcing turnovers, and I thought we had good answers on offense, and we were tremendous on special teams.
Turnovers continue to be that story, 17 points off those mistakes. How do you continue to capitalize?
Well, our guys are doing a good job of coaching, and our players are buying in. Now, it's got to be a team concept, and the players understand the commitment it takes in this game. And I just couldn't be more proud of our coaches and our fans on homecoming with what happened last year. This is a special day, but I do want to say that there's 2 really good teams out there today, and I was proud of the way our quarterback rallied, proud of the way our defense was able to force turnovers.
And you also spoiled it for West Virginia with that. They're no longer undefeated for you guys. Right. What does it say about where you stand in the Big 12?
Well, I think we have a good team, and I think there's a lot of parity in the Big 12. I've said that for a number of years now, which is great for our league. When you play on the road, it's extremely difficult, and I'm sure Dana will say the same thing. If you travel on the road and you turn the ball over, it's really, really hard to win. The turnovers were the difference in today's game.
Okay, thanks for your time. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys.
All right, thank you and congratulations to Coach Gundy. Thank you, Jenny. We're going to take a break. Be back to Stillwater to wrap things up after this. "17 points off turnovers for the Cowboys today, and that winds up being the margin of victory as they hand West Virginia its first loss of the season. Oklahoma State has now won 4 in a row. Later on Fox, Game 4 of the World Series, John Lackey for the Cubs. Corey Kluber making his second start of the series for the Indians. Coverage beginning at 7 Eastern tonight on Fox. If you've not yet tuned into a game in the World Series or in the postseason at Wrigley, make sure you do. It is absolutely electric there on the north side of Chicago. For Brady Quinn and Jenny Taft and the rest of our crew, Joe Davis wishing you a good afternoon from Stillwater. Once again, the final score, Oklahoma State 37, West Virginia 20. Oklahoma State and West Virginia now both with 1 loss in Big 12 play, both looking up at Oklahoma and Baylor as we roll into November in this 2016 college football season.